We've been talking about the 8 worldly winds, and this morning I'm going to say a few more words about them. As Bill was teaching yesterday, our relationship to these experiences is very complex. And he invited us to pay attention to the sequelae that arise when praise is here or when blame is here. They each bring updrafts and downdrafts. I am someone who does not like to fly. I don't like it. As a matter of fact, I think one of my first conscious fear memories is about being in an airplane with my family and recognizing that I had no idea how this plane could stay up in the air. Why doesn't this plane just fall from the sky and crash the end? And no one in my family could tell me how the plane could stay up in the air. And as my distress was revving up, their annoyance was also revving up. My distress was not being greeted with kind eyes. I think probably they did not know how this plane was going to stay up in the air either. I would grip the seat like a death grip. Can you just take a moment and make fists with your hands? Like tight, tight, even a little tighter? Okay, let go, relax. It was that tight. And I would even help the pilot put brakes on the plane by pushing my feet, flexing my feet right into the seat in front of me. And if it was you in front of me, I'm sorry, but I was working really hard to keep our plane up in the air and safe. Safe landing. I also have another memory of being in an airplane. And this memory, I also had a very visceral recognition that no matter how hard I might grip or how many affirmations I might be repeating over and over, oh, I am not in control. And I let go. There was no choice. I remember breathing and trying to stay grounded in the groundlessness of being utterly powerless. Well, I married someone who actually loves to fly, and that helps. He loves it when the plane experiences turbulence because he understands that the plane knows how to respond to the turbulence. It can stay flexible and stable. It has the ability to respond naturally to the updrafts and downdrafts. And next time you're on a plane, if you want to look out the window, you will see that the wings of the plane are actually flexing. They're flexing. Susan talks about the trees that withstand storms. They yield and bend, and sometimes they break, but usually they stand up straight. I think that we want to have a sense or some faith, confidence in our stability, our strength to withstand these winds. This is what a mindfulness practice helps us to do. This is why we're practicing, right? One of the reasons I am. Our bodies have a natural ability to return to homeostasis, to maintain a 98.6 temperature. When it's cold, we shiver, and when we are hot, we sweat. The plane goes back to straight and level flight, and the trees right themselves. These are parallels to how we can consciously manage extreme winds. Can we rest in the middle of the extremes? I love that. Can we rest in the middle of the extremes? Standing in our own groundedness when we feel tossed or blown around. can we rely a little more on our innate flexibility and stability? Can we train this? Simone Biles described several reasons why she withdrew from the Olympic events. She called them twisties. I'd never heard of this expression before. It's an experience that sounds terrifying, and you can hear gymnasts and divers describe it. When they're up in the air, they can't discern up from down or left from right. And we all know those experiences when we feel so disoriented. This is when we want to remember Susan's prompt of breathe. Come back to the body, tether the breath to the body to the ground, settle and soothe. I'm going to repeat that because I think it is so beautiful and helpful. Breathe, come back to the body, tether the breath to the body to the ground, settle and soothe. So back to the winds of praise and blame. There's a reported tradition in the ancient Olympics, and it goes like this. The victorious athlete steps up to receive the praise of the crowds, and he basks in the cheers. And there's one person who comes up behind him and whispers in his ear, "Glory is fleeting." On the other hand, can we imagine receiving the boos of the crowd or the criticism, the blame, and having someone come up and whisper in our ear, "You are still a good person. This does not define you, and this will pass." I think drawing on Gregory Kramer's work of insight dialogue, and he really speaks to how these winds are so relational. The hunger to be seen in a certain way, the fear of being seen in a certain way. Both of these rest on a hunger to obtain pleasure and avoid pain. Each of us has longed to feel praise from certain people as we were growing up. Oh, we wanted to hear it. Some of us heard it, and some of us did not. And each of us has felt the distress of being blamed or criticized. Some of us experience more of that than others. What do we do to gain praise, to be liked? I have a friend, and she said she worked so hard her whole life to be fascinating. Fascinating. She was starved for it at home. Praise and attention did not come from home. But she had a third grade teacher who would come in the afternoon, and she said she would rack her brain to think of a fascinating story to tell her teacher so that her teacher would express delight and praise. She wanted to have that sense of delight reflected back to her, a sense of her goodness and wonderfulness. I think that when we don't trust that deep goodness inside ourselves, oh, we are on a desperate mission to find it on the outside. There is a hunger to be seen in a certain way. And we all have sorts of maneuvers and strategies to manage our sense of comfort and homeostasis. We're doing it right now. The airplane is built to withstand the gusts. The tree is also naturally equipped to yield and give way and sway. We can do this too. Does it help to know which direction the wind is coming from? Or what kind of wind it is? Would it be helpful to anticipate these patterns of winds? In learning about these winds, does it help us to become a little less anxious? We want to grow a little more ease with these winds. We want to feel a little more sway, a little less resistance. And part of this training is about trusting a little more deeply into our natural ability to rebalance. If we can get out of the way, we have a natural ability to rebalance. We have this tendency to over-orchestrate and get in there and rearrange. Trusting. Buddha never taught that pleasure was bad or pain good. He taught only that both should be treated with the same loving awareness and mindfulness. Both welcomed, both released. Both welcomed, both released. Thank you.